Hello there, it's Jonathan at the Piano Lesson, and I had a request to continue with our shell voicings and see how it might apply to some other songs, and I'm happy to do that. I love doing that. When you teach, you want people to learn. And I want people to learn. And over the years, I have gravitated towards sharing this method of arranging, making a piano arrangement, because I feel it's not just good for beginners, it's good for everyone. Because I play this way myself. And I'll just kind of review that for a minute, because there's really two basic ways of approaching these chords. All right, so let's just dive into that. Okay, the ways to make your arrangement sound, cooler. So the basic voicing, right? The basic voicings, the basic standard 2-5-1s, right? D F A C, D F G B, C, E, G, B. Okay, that would be that, right? Now, that's just fine, and you should know how to do this until you get back to where you started. That's pretty low on the piano. You can hear how that doesn't really sound particularly musical. That sounds clearer. It's much more acceptable. And I started in C, and then I went to B flat, A flat, G flat, or F sharp, E, D, C. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 keys. And then you do the same thing, a half step up. Until you're back where you started. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 keys. 6 and 6 is 12. Those are your 6 keys. So this would be, right, like D minor 7, G7, C major 7, and then you'd start the whole thing over again. C, E flat, G, B flat, C, E flat, F, A, right, and B flat, D, F, A, right. So that's C minor 7. F7, and that's an inversion, right? There's a C on the bottom, so that's C on the bottom, and then B flat major 7, right? And then you continue in that fashion, okay? Again, the inversion, this is D on the bottom. But there's two different ways to approach playing those chords once you feel like you have a handle on it. And by the way, whatever you learn in the left hand, right, you learn on the right hand too, okay? Right? Everything you can, and when you play the piano, you have to be able to do everything in both hands. And then you do both hands. And then you also do, broken chords, right? The exact same notes. And you do that in the left hand too. Or both hands. Playing a little fast to save some time, but that you do that. Now, as I mentioned, if you voice these chords down too low, if you play down here, that's just not really practical to do. And likewise, playing them high up, might sound too thin. So what you do is you take the middle notes, right, and you bring them up here, right? Now you've opened up the chord a bit, and so rather than playing everything in root position like that, this is D, F, A, excuse me, D. I want the D and the C, okay, in the left hand. I'm taking the F and the A, and I'm bringing them up here. F and A, okay, and that's how that looks, all right. And you can see let's see, did I write that correct? This has to be on a line. You gotta catch that, right? Okay. See, how did I catch that real quick? Because I can see that that's a third, right? And I can see that's supposed to be a fourth, right? It's supposed to be a space note and a line note. And if I don't see that fourth there, or that fourth there, there's trouble. There's trouble afoot. And there's the seventh, okay? That's the interval of a seventh. Space, space. That's the odd numbered intervals, thirds and sevenths, line, line, right? The even numbered intervals, the fourth, right? That's space line. That's how you tell real fast. So, right, these two notes the top two notes stay the same, A and F. The bottom two notes change. The top note goes down a step to B, and the bottom note goes up a fourth to G. All right. So this is D minor 7. This is G7 with an added ninth. Why the ninth? Well, this note here, it changes its function. This was the fifth of the chord, the A, and now it becomes the ninth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Right? So D, C, F, A, G, B, F, A, and then the last chord, C, B, E, G. C, B, E, what do we do here? E, and then G, okay? Right. C, B, E, G, that's C major 7. I'm just going to make some arbitrary bar lines here just to kind of separate things. So that rather than doing this, we're doing this. Right? Now, if I did that up here, that's okay too, but it does sound a little high. And frankly, that sounds a little bit low. That sounds a bit high. I probably wouldn't use those voicings until I got to about here. Okay? So what do? Well, the other option is that rather than starting with a seventh in the left hand, you start with a third in the left hand. So how does that look? Well, before I took these middle notes out, F and A, and I put them up here. This time I'm going to leave the F, okay? And I'm going to play the A in my thumb, and I'm going to add one more note. I'm going to skip up and play an E. Okay, that's the ninth. Now that is a bit too low down there for my taste. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to move it up here. And I like that better. I just feel like that range, that voicing just makes more sense to me. So I'll write that out. D, again, you got to use your ear for this stuff. It just sort of depends. C, E, but D, F, C, E. All right, that's D minor 7 with an added ninth. The ninth is the E. G, F, that's your seventh. B, E, B, C, D, E. That becomes the 13. That's G7 with an added 13. And then C, E, B, D. C, E, B, D. And this is, what did we say? It's the line note. G, F, B, E. That's your G13. This is your D minor 9. And this is your C major 7 with an added ninth. Okay? Hope you can see that. So that's the way that sounds. I like that sound, and I'll just play a few of them. D minor 7, D minor 9, G13, C major 9. And continuing the pattern. Now, right about here, it might start getting a little low. I mean, that's possible, but we're starting to kind of reach the boundaries of reasonability. But that's probably too low. I don't think I particularly care for that. Now, I will say this. Again, using your ear, okay? Every piano is a little different, okay? So you just can't completely predict based on the piano you're playing, based on, and it could be electric piano, right? Or it could be, there's no reason you can't do this on other instruments, on other chordal instruments like guitar. But I think that rather than playing just the third in the left hand, anytime you have a third, you can play a 10th. So here was our voicing before, all right? D, F, C, E, okay? That's our voicing there. Anytime you have a third, that's a 3. I can write, that's a third. There we go. It's an interval of a third. Anytime you have a third in the left hand, you can take this note, play it down an octave, okay? Just down an octave. And now you have an interval of a 10th, right? Take a third, lower the bottom note, now you have a 10th. And it'll sound like this. Now, that's really the voicing I really want, And again, there's your 10th. Now you're saying, well, I can't play 10th, that's too, okay, well, fine. I have trouble playing 10ths too. I can play 10ths on the white keys, and the way I do it, I have a little trick. I kind of, use the webbing of my finger. I sort of, I've been playing long enough where I can kind of stretch up, and I can put my finger on the edge of the keys, and I can kind of get those down, right? And if I hold the pedal down, I can play walking 10ths in that manner. That's one way to do it. But you can roll the chord. You can hold the pedal down, play the lower note with your pinky, and then jump up to your thumb, okay? And you don't have to feel obligated to stretch. I can't reach that 10th or that. I really can't do that. There are people who can. I can't. Well, that's when I roll the chord. I roll the chord. Or I just use two hands sometimes. There's nothing like the sound of 10ths on the piano. I mean, the 10ths really sound beautiful. It's also a good way to see if the piano's in tune. It just sounds nice. So that's D minor 9, all right? So we've gotten rid of our third there, right? And now we're playing our 10th. And then the chord we had before, that's perfectly acceptable, right? There's nothing wrong with that. G, F, B, E. G, F, B, E. That's our G13. And then our C major 9, but I'm taking the C and I'm moving it down here. So low C, C, E, E. There we go. C, E, B, and D. C, E, B, D. Okay, that's C major 9. Sorry for the sloppy writing. My mother had hoped I could be a doctor with that handwriting. But here, right? So, or that's what starting up here, so you could play the low note late if you want. There's nothing wrong with that. Or, right, you could do this. You could even do this. Watch. You could play 3 notes in the right hand, right? What's to stop you from doing that? It's the exact same notes, right? Just different fingering. So that's, that's now where, again, how are we going to apply this, all right? But those are the two variations of what I call, shell voicings. One, it's third, seventh, third. The other one is seventh, third, seventh, right? Those are the two. And the third you can play as a 10th. So how would you apply these? Well, I've shown this example before. I love this song, though, but in a tune like Duke Ellington's Satin Doll. Right? I mean, that works real well. E minor 9, A13. This is D minor 9. And again, you could play, instead of this, you play this. And I'm pedaling between each chord. Pedal. And if you really want to be fancy, you could, go up a half step. Now, the next chord is A minor 7 flat 5. I already have those notes here on my A7, so I only need to change the notes in the right hand. A minor 7 flat 5, jumping up to the melody. A minor 7 flat 5, D7 flat 9. The flat 5 becomes the flat 9. And then, so it's 7th, 3rd, or I could do 10th. See, that's a nice sound. And then a flat minor 7 goes, this is just a regular minor 7 chord. 2 5, A flat minor 7, D flat 7. And then C major 7. That's a deceptive cadence. That's a deceptive cadence, meaning that typically we would think that would go to G flat, but it doesn't. It goes up a fourth and down a half step. That's the sneaky trick that it plays, okay? And that's just what happens sometimes in jazz. Now, but rather than playing the 3rd, I can go down and play this. All right? So the whole thing's going to sound like... And notice I played this low D first. Why did I do that? Well, because the melody starts on the upbeat, starts on a pickup 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, downbeat. See that? So rhythmically, we're adapting the voicing to the song itself, and it just kind of falls into place that way. Chord 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and chord and 2 and 3. There's your 10th. Okay, either one. Now, in between from here to here, we're doing our turnaround. 1 2 3 4 1 2 3, and we're back to the top. Now, what did I do there? Well, I went up the scale. C major 7, D minor 7, E minor 7. Rather than continuing up the scale, I went up a fourth, played A7. That's our typical turnaround. There's two typical ways that chords move. They move in a scalar motion, okay, or they move by fourths and fifths. Those are the typical ways that they move. And I really do encourage people, I think I learned this when I was 12 or 13, but it really changed my life, to not just practice the scale, okay, but harmonize the scale. Play 2 notes, or 3 notes, right, or 4 notes, right? And you can even practice that with shell voicings. Or that's just on white keys, right? You could do that in other keys, like in G and F to start with. But that's just super handy to know. So this is like a little bit of a interlude. 1 2 3 4 1 2, back to the top. You can even do both. And over here, I'll just, in general, rather than doing this again, because that would sound like we're going back the first time, the second ending would be, or. So why did I do that? Well, C major 6, da, ba, da, C6, I like the 6 rather than the major 7. It's a little more stable of a voicing. D minor 7, D sharp diminished, C6 with E in the bass. So you have this little do-ba-da-dum that functions to kind of reconcile the second ending, okay? So C6, D minor 7, D sharp diminished, and again with the diminished voicing you can use a shell voicing, and then C6 in first inversion, so you're going to have the E on the bottom rather than the C. Why did I do that? Well, because, and usually when I play 6 chords I play the 9th as well. Now that sounds a little odd because I have the E in the bass, but you might do that as well. Now the bridge, 2, 5, 1, and F. It would just generically 2, 5, 1 in F, okay? G minor 7, C7, F major 7. That's our basic pattern. So what would be the best way to approach that with our shell voicings? Well, you could, always try them just to see how you like the sound of them. But here's starting with a 3rd in the bass. Now that sounds a bit light for my taste. Now, although if we play the 10th, that's not too bad, really. I mean, that sounds okay. The other way to do it, now, but it's going to require a little bit of a reach. All right, so there's your 7th, 3rd, 7th, 3rd. So you could do, or that's the other flavor of voicing. See, I went up to the melody and I filled in the chord afterwards. Now here's another opportunity to use our diatonic chords. We're going C major 7, G minor 7, G sharp diminished, F6 in first inversion. And I happen to be playing the 5th of the chord, which I usually discourage people from doing, but in this instance it just seems to sound okay. It just seems to sound right. But that's practicing this kind of thing. Those are our diatonic triads. Just to have a little sidebar here. Once you get good at practicing your diatonic triads and your diatonic 7th chords, the next thing to do is to say take a chord and practice playing every other chord as a diminished chord. So as an example, F6, G diminished, F6 in first inversion, and then you might play, let's see, you might play that would be the scale I would use. Right, so playing the diminished on the B flat, you could use a diminished chord up to F6 in second inversion. Root position, first inversion, second inversion. And any other chord you'd make a diminished. So, and then this is the special note. So that requires we're playing F6 chords 4 times, and then the other 4 times we're playing diminished chords. We're playing this, this, and this. We're playing the same inversion twice. So it's F diminished, F diminished, F diminished, F. It looks like a D minor 7, but it's F6 in third inversion. Diminished. Right. That would be as an exercise. Okay, but going back to what we're doing before. Stepping up. Now 2-5 in G. See that? 7th, 3rd, or I can play the 10th. It never goes to G. It never does this, right? It just it really functions more as the 3 chord in the key of F. D minor 7. You know, so I guess you could. So the bridge, I'll play the bridge just real easy. G7, A. And now with the voicings again, I kind of prefer that as opposed to this or this. But it, you know, just kind of up to you. Notice I'm kind of breaking up the chord. That's G13. 6. There's my walking tenths. And then the introduction and the ending. I mean, that would be the ending, or the introduction would be pedal tone on in the left hand on 2 and 4. A. And then you start. And if you listen to the recording of it, you'll see, you know, you'll hear that. It's kind of a standard introduction. Okay, so I really wanted to take some time and kind of show the application of these chords and show that it's really worth knowing. If you just know how to do those 2 variations, you can really, you know, do some amazing things on the piano. Okay, that's it for today, but I will see you next time, and I hope you guys have a great week, and drop me a line. See you later. Bye-bye.